welcome back to my channel. My name is Ashley and today I'm going to be starting a vlog where I join an in-person book club for the first time and I read the book Malibu Rising by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I'm gonna be honest, I was not super excited to read this book. It was not really on my TBR. I have read a couple other books from Taylor Jenkins Reid in the past that I have really enjoyed. I have read Daisy Jones and the Six and the Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, but I was not particularly excited about this one. It didn't really sound like something I would like and I wasn't really interested in it, but I did want to join a book club and so this was the closest thing I could find to my style of reading, of book clubs that I would be interested in. And so I'm gonna read this book and I'm gonna go to a book club in just a couple of days and I have not started this book, and so I need to get a move on and actually get through this book so that I actually can be a productive member in a book club and not someone who just doesn't read the book, because I don't want to do that. I've never joined an in-person book club before. I have done virtual book club-ish things, whether that's with people I know or just book clubs online that creators have themselves and then they read books, they do live shows, things like that. But I've never done an in-person book club before, so I'm very curious to see how this is going to go. There's also just going to be a ton of people there. This is either the first or second time this book club is meeting. I cannot remember if it's the first or the second time, but maybe it's the second time. Either way, there's like 50 people signed up to attend this thing. We're meeting in a park and I imagine it's gonna be a crazy time. The way I found this book club was through this app called Meetup, which is kind of like a condensed version of Facebook events. I was looking through Facebook events first to see if I could find any local book clubs, and I saw like a couple things, but nothing super interesting, but I kept seeing Meetup mentioned in Facebook events. And so then I went to check that out and there was like a plethora of options, and there are writers clubs and people who are playing board games and people just being social. So it's a really cool app. Would recommend checking it out if you haven't before. But obviously I just moved to a new city and I don't know anybody here, and this is the first time I have moved to a new place without having some kind of forced proximity function in my life, like school or work or something, because I work remotely. So I needed to get myself out of the house and go socialize with other human beings. And so this is my solution. We're gonna try this out. We're gonna join an in-person book club. I'm going to take you along with me. We're gonna see how it goes. It could be a disaster, but if so, there were like plenty of other options. So maybe I'll just try another one. So first, starting with the book that we're reading. This is like part reading vlog, part lifestyle vlog. So I'll tell you about the book and about my experiences. This is a contemporary fiction book that just came out recently, and it follows these four siblings who are the children of this famous guy, McReva. He is also a character just like in Taylor Jenkins Reid universe, who is also in the Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. So there's like a little bit of an Easter egg with that if you care about that, but you don't need to know that information to read this book. At least I don't think so. But this follows the four children and they have this big party. They're like also celebrities and they have a big party every year. And something happens over the course of that party where the house ends up catching on fire and everybody kind of came with their own grudges or secrets and you're trying to figure out what happened. You also flash back in time with their father McReva's life and love story, I suppose. So I don't really know. It does not sound that interesting to me, but we're gonna just give it a shot. I've liked Taylor Jenkins Reid stuff in the past, so I may still enjoy this. Seems like it's gonna have a very summery vibe and I'm still kind of in the mood for summery books, so hopefully it'll at least give good vibes if nothing else. But like I said, I haven't gotten started yet and today is Thursday and the book club is on Sunday. And I've known about this for weeks. I've just decided to put this off. So I've only got a couple days left, so I'm gonna need to jump into this book and read it quickly. So I will go ahead and jump on in and update you as I get through the first little section of the book. Okay, so I have read the first 100-ish pages. I'm on like page 90 something. And so I got through the first good chunk of the book. It's a little over, or maybe a lot over 300. Yeah, it's like 370-ish pages. So made a decent dent in the book. I'm not really loving it. I'm not really hating it. I feel very, very neutral about it so far. The writing style is very contrived and annoying in a way, but also very much fits the vibe of the book. So it's not bothering me too much because it's matching the vibe. There's been a good portion of the book so far that's been set in like 1956, like in the 1950s, when the father, Mick Riva, was meeting this woman and falling in love with her. And so that just reads like watching a romance movie with like flashbacks to the 50s, if that makes sense. This is just giving me like a lot of like Firefly Lane vibes, the TV show. I did not read the book, but that's the only thing I can think of that has like this just wholesome, vintage, nostalgic feel to it, because that show also did like flashbacks and then present day and was about like family and a bunch of people and things. I don't know. It's just making me think of Firefly Lane. I don't read a lot of things with this vibe or watch a lot of things with this vibe, so I don't have the best comparisons. It's just like the closest thing I could think of. But yeah, I don't know what I'm going to talk about with this book because I just don't really care that much about anything right now. Maybe that'll change. But so far there's nothing that's been like overly shocking or impactful that made me feel any type of way. I just feel very neutral towards it right now. I've also been taking notes on my phone of what's been happening in this book because I'm nervous that I'm going to forget something, even though I'm reading it all in like 3 days before this book club starts. I just don't want to forget any plot details and then feel stupid because I don't know what I'm talking about. So I have all of these notes in my phone of like the 1956 timeline and then each individual character's timeline. And I've decided I'm going to make this a spoilery vlog anyway, so I guess I'll just update you on what's going on in the story so far. Right now we're still being introduced to all of the characters. We haven't really gotten a full picture of all of the siblings yet. You've seen a little bit of some of them. You've seen more of others. You have your oldest sibling, Nina, who is a professional surfboarder. She's pretty famous. She also like models and is in magazines and stuff. And she is living in this mansion and her husband has just left her for another woman. And so she is a little bit sad, I guess, right now. And they're getting ready to host this party at her house. So she's not really in the mood for it, but she's also like, I should get out of my bad mood and we should host this party and I can flirt with people and it'll be a good time. Then you have the oldest brother, who is Jay. He is also a surfboarder. He has also recently been injured and now diagnosed with cardiomyopathy because he was underwater for too long and that like weakened his heart, and so he's nervous about that. He was also recently dumped by his girlfriend Ashley, who is now sleeping with his younger brother Hudson, and they're keeping that a secret. But Jay is also already interested in this new girl named Laura who works at this restaurant. She's very elusive and mysterious, and so he's really into her and he is inviting her to come to the party with him tonight. Then, like I said, you have another younger brother, Hudson, and he is sleeping with Ashley, Jay's ex-girlfriend, secretly, and he's really nervous about it. And him and Ashley have decided that they want to tell Jay tonight at this party. So you're starting all of this the morning of the party. I think this whole book takes place in just the day of this party. So you're starting at 7 a.m. and this is part 1 of the book. That is 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. of them all getting ready for the party in their day. And then you have the youngest sibling, Kit, who is a girl who we know almost nothing about at this point in the first 100 pages. So I really don't know anything about her. I don't even know who her parents are at this point. There is an interesting thing going on with some of the siblings. So like I said, you're also following the dad's history back in 1956 when he was meeting June for the first time, the girl he falls in love with. And so he falls in love with June and they get married and they have a kid, so that's Nina, and then they have another kid, so that's Jay. And meanwhile, he's coming up into his fame and going on tour and doing a lot of things, and then he starts being super unfaithful and cheating a lot, and it turns out he gets this other woman pregnant, and one day she shows up at their doorstep with the baby because it's a boy and she doesn't want to take care of it. She's like, I think the boy should be with his dad, and that's Hudson. So he's like a half sibling. And so far we haven't learned where Kit came from, who Kit's mom is, but you know Mick is the dad of all of these children, I think, so far at least. So that's kind of where we're at right now. The tensions are increasing. As you all know, everyone's coming to this party with their own kind of secrets or hurt feelings, and they're all gonna come together at this party, and you know something's gonna go wrong. It's gonna burst into flames. So yeah, I'm like mildly interested enough to keep reading. It's a really quick read. Like I said, the tone is just a little bit annoying. Some of it is the dialogue I don't like. Some of it is just like the exposition and the really flowery writing that I don't like. It's not so bad that I don't want to read the book, but it is just a little bit annoying and just not my style. But you know, we're gonna push through. We're gonna keep going. I'll try to read like another 100 pages or so and then check in with you again to give you an update. Okay, so I've read another 150 pages or so of Malibu Rising. I'm on page like 250 now, so I only have about 100 pages left in the book. So I figured it'd be a good time to jump in and update on how the book's been going so far. I feel pretty much the same way that I did with the first 100 pages, where I still feel pretty neutral about the book overall. I think it's just really not a book for me. I knew that going into it, and it's just kind of continued to be confirmed. And with only 100 pages left in the story, I still feel like I could not see this possibly being more than like a 3-star with how I'm just like, meh. Everything's just like okay. I honestly can't remember what all I updated on last time and how far I had gotten into the story and things that have changed since then, but really it doesn't feel like a lot has changed in a way that it's like things I want to talk about. I don't know how to explain that, but like there's obviously things going on in the story, but you're really just learning about these characters' lives, and a lot of it has been set in the past, and so it's just like learning their history, where that's not as much impacting the action of the present day story. It just is like explaining how they got to where they are and their circumstances and why they are the way they are, which is just like not super exciting for me. I really wish this story would have been more set during the party in the present day, and you would have just gotten little glimpses of their history, but really it's been like a lot of getting their history and you're getting little glimpses of the party. In the past like 50 pages or so, I finally started getting more action at the party, because you learn like their entire history up to the point pretty much of them being adults, and so at that point there's not as much to go flashback in time with anymore. But I don't know, it's just a little disappointing that so much of this is just like them growing up as kids and the struggles they face, and like June and Mick would separate because he would cheat on her and go marry someone else, and then he'd come back and ask for forgiveness, and they'd get back together, and then they'd break up again, and then the kids were just like seeing the side effects of all that. And then the mother, June, becomes an alcoholic and she ends up dying. She drowns in the bathtub because she's drunk, and that's when Nina, the oldest daughter, is like 16 or 17. And so then she ends up taking care of all the other siblings, and then when she turns 18, she adopts them and they become her dependents. And so she really gives up a lot of her childhood and life to protect and raise her siblings. And so much of the book is just that. Everything I just said, just like stretched out over a long period of time. And so a lot of that is just showing why Nina is the way she is today, and how history repeats itself, because now her husband, who has left her for another woman, has now come begging back saying, oh, I'm so sorry, I made mistakes, let me be back with you, or making a huge scene at this party. And so she's like, okay, yeah, we can be back together. I don't know, that whole thing in particular I feel weird about, because it feels like betrayal, because you get all this context of this history of what her mother's life was like and what Nina witnessed with Mick, like leaving and coming back and leaving and coming back, and how much that destroyed her mother to the point where she ends up becoming an alcoholic and dying over it. That, to me, all of that says this should build Nina into the type of person who would never accept her cheating husband back into her life. Like, she even acknowledges to herself, like, oh, history repeats itself, like here I am in this pattern, it feels like deja vu, that now I'm a woman whose husband is leaving her for some other woman. And so I can't see any way that she would just be like, okay, yeah, like I'll forgive you. Part of it is that's the midst of this party, so she's trying to not be awkward, but also like I feel like she would just kick him out. Like, I feel like I know her really well because we've spent so much time learning about her, and it just didn't feel right for that to be the decision that she made. And so part of me is like, well, what's the whole point of reading their whole history, getting to know them so well, if that does not reflect their actions in an authentic and genuine way in the present day? I don't know. I'm just having like not the best feelings about it. I'm not loving it. I kind of just want it to be over at this point. The next thing coming up, which I suspected was coming up, was that Mick was going to be invited to the party, and it seems like that is what's happening. And looking back and reading the synopsis to see like what's the point of this book, like what is supposed to be happening. In Kit's section, it says Kit has a couple secrets of her own, including a guest she invited without consulting anyone. And so I'm imagining that Kit invited Mick to the party. So we'll see how that goes and what kind of explosion that causes. There's also been a new character introduced, Casey, who comes to this party and she thinks she's McReva's other child from a different woman who died at childbirth and she became adopted. There's just like all this information, all these characters, all this story, but none of it feels like it really matters. And so that's why I think these kind of books are just not for me, because I'm just like, what's the point? Like, what's supposed to be exciting about this? I'm just like learning about people who don't exist. And so, yeah, I don't know. It's just not that exciting to me. I just need some action. I need some surprises, some thrills, some mystery, some murders. Like, that's the kind of stuff I typically enjoy. And I can still enjoy like literary fiction, contemporary fiction, romances, but this one, I just don't like the way it's laid out. Like, I really don't like when it's these whole stories of these people's lives, especially if it's just told in an order where it makes a lot of sense. When it's told at least in a confusing kind of order and you're piecing parts of the history together to like build this greater puzzle, I like that better. But this is just very straightforward narrative where you're just learning about them as they grow up, and then there's this party and things are happening. I also really don't like how now that we are spending time at the party, which is what I wanted this whole time, was like, okay, let me just see what's going on at the party, because I care more about that, the present day, with these characters than I do about learning all of their history leading up to it. I don't like the way the party's being done because it just keeps focusing on all these different characters. Like, the narrator is kind of just like a camera wandering around the party and just like going into the lives of other people who you don't know. Like, all of a sudden this character will come into the picture and it's like, oh, they're gonna meet the love of their life tonight, or oh, they're looking for the love of their life, and they're in the front yard and the backyard, and there's just like all this wandering thing with all these characters that don't matter. And I'm like, we don't need these pages. Like, I just want to get to the actual story, the characters I don't care about but like should be caring about. Yeah, I don't know, it's okay. I need to get it done. So that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna read the last 100 pages. I've also ended up squeezing this into another reading vlog, which should already be live by now, the 1000 Doors Readathon vlog, because this is the 1000 Doors Readathon weekend and I needed to finish this book, so I just had this match a prompt in that. So you can go check out that video if you want. It should be live already, but trying to get through it really quickly too so that I can move on to the next prompt and that readathon. So it's a little bit confusing of a time, but yeah, let's just finish this book. We'll just get through the last 100 pages, see how it goes. Good morning. It is now Sunday. It is the day of the book club. I've got a bit of a chaotic day going on. I'm getting ready to go to the movies because we really wanted to go see The Green Knight in theaters, and it's getting ready to go out of theaters near us already because I guess it's just not as popular of a movie. It's a bit more niche, and so if we don't go like today, we're really not going to get another chance to go. So we're going to an 11 a.m. movie. It's a 2-hour-long movie, and I'm gonna have to go straight from there to the book club, which is going to be a little bit stressful, but that is just the day I've set up for myself. Also, there's a hurricane, and so the book club may be postponed until like next weekend or something. So we're kind of waiting to get an update on that in the next couple of hours. They're gonna make a call by noon whether we're gonna go or not, but it has been raining like all weekend, so the ground's gonna be really wet and it's in a park anyway. So I'm kind of like hoping it gets postponed, also because now I am anxious and I'm doing the thing where I get excited for something and then I'm like, oh, but I don't have to go. Like, I could just not go. But it's like, you want to make friends, but also that requires effort, and like, I don't want to do that. So that's where I'm at. Chaotic mess this morning, like I said. Anyway, I did finish Malibu Rising yesterday, so at least I got the book done in time in case we do have it today. So that's one less thing to stress about. And overall, I did not really enjoy this book. That's really not a great way to go into a book club, but I mean, what do I know? I've never been to an in-person book club, so maybe it is a great way to go in and spark conversation. But I wish I could have liked it, but I knew I wasn't going to this whole time. Anyway, it just wasn't really going to be a book for me. I think some people are going to enjoy this. I feel like it's like a good beach read where you don't have to like invest too much brain power into keeping up with the storyline and such. Like, it's a pretty straightforward story, and so I feel like those are good for like a beach read, a vacation read, kind of a chill, lounging kind of book. Or for someone who like doesn't read a book all in a couple days, if you read a book like over a month or something, I feel like this would be something you might like. I just didn't really like it. That's okay. I knew I wasn't going to. Overall, I would say like I just felt neutral about it. I didn't like hate it. There are so many things that I would have done differently with the story, but that's not the book's fault. Like, the book is what it is, and I just didn't love it. I think just the main thing that was missing from this story for me was how it was just so straightforward. It was not like complex or confusing or mysterious in any way, really. It was just a very straightforward narrative where you're following these children through their lives growing up to the point that they get grown up, and then you're at the party and everyone's kind of got their own thing going on, but it's just like there weren't really any surprises. I always felt like I knew what was coming next, and I like there to be a little bit more complexity in literary or contemporary fiction when I read it, just because I tend to lean towards mysteries mysteries and thrillers anyway. And so I really like it when a literary fiction or a contemporary fiction has like some complexity, some mysterious things going on. Like you can't piece together the whole narrative from the first half of the book. I like there to be surprises and things to keep me invested in the story. And this book just didn't really have that. I wish the timeline would have been dispersed a little bit, because it's like the first half of the book is like them growing up and the second half of the book is like the party basically. And I think if that would have been like mixed in a little more, like back and forth, that would have added some complexity to trying to figure out like why everyone is the way they are and all of their secrets and stuff. I don't know. It just was too simple for me. I have been giving spoilers this whole time, so I feel like I have to tell you how everything ends up wrapping up in the book. I can't remember where I last left off, so if I repeat a little bit, I'm sorry. I think where I last left off was just telling you kind of how the history leads up into the book. So the kids growing up and the Mick Riva dad being really unfaithful, leaving, coming back, leaving, coming back, driving the mom, June, to alcoholism. She ends up drowning in the tub, and then Nina ends up taking care of all the other children, so she kind of sacrifices her childhood to take care of her siblings. Even when the mom was still alive, like she was doing a lot of the caretaking. And so that was like a lot of Nina's story. Then we have going on with the brothers, Jay and Hud. Hud is sleeping with Jay's ex, Ashley, and he tries to tell Jay about it, but he ends up kind of messing up the way he delivers it and gets himself into a bit of a pickle with that. And then Jay ends up finding out at the party that they're sleeping together, because he finds like photos of them in Hud's glove box while he's like hooking up with a girl in his car. And so then that causes a fight, so they break into a huge like fist fight moment, and then that's when Mick shows up to the party and he's like, whoa, what's going on? And basically the whole story culminates in everybody coming together at this moment. The kids all go to the beach with Mick, and he gives them like his spiel of apology, and Nina's like missing for a lot of it, but then she ends up coming down like once he gets through it all, and she's like, it's okay, I don't need to hear it, like I know what you're gonna say, I watched you come back to our mom a million times and like say all these things because you feel that in the moment, but you never like follow through with anything, you never deliver on that. And so she really starts to stand up for herself and her siblings in that moment and really defends them and says like, we don't need you. It's nice that you like think you want to be here for like today, but we know you won't be here long term, and even if you wanted to be, like, we don't need you, we're fine without you. And so that was a nice moment for her character arc. In part of the speech, she talks a lot about like being a parent, what it takes to be a parent. It's not about being capable, it's about just showing up. And she's like, I was obviously not capable of raising my siblings, I've never been capable, but I show up for them, and I've done this all this time. She's like, if I did what I wanted to do, I would be out on a beach in Portugal in a small town where nobody knows who I am, and I would go surf every day and blah, blah, blah. Once they get through the whole conversation, the siblings are like, you really want to go do that? You want to go to Portugal? And she's like, I mean, I was just saying that. And they're like, no, 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 you really want to do it. And so it's all about Nina learning to like live her life for herself and doing what she wants to do. And she does decide to go. And so they plan to like help her leave that night and like get her out of there. And so she gets out of there. When Mick goes to leave the party, his car's been stolen by Nina's ex-husband, who there was a whole kerfuffle with, and she ended up kicking him out. And he was really drunk, and he took Mick's car and crashed it somewhere. So he doesn't have a car. He's standing around kind of smoking a cigarette, drops a cigarette, ends up like hitchhiking or something, and that cigarette drop is what lights the house on fire. And so that was it. That was what caused the fire in the house. Just an accident of him dropping a cigarette, which is like, whatever. I mean, I guess whatever. So yeah, that's kind of how the story leaves off, is you're like, okay, Nina's gonna go live her life and do what she wants. She finally stood up for herself. She's not taking back her ex-husband. Her siblings like resolve all their problems. Jay and Hud like fight it out, and Jay realizes Hud actually loves Ashley, and he's like, well, I never loved Ashley, so we're gonna be cool, like we'll work it out. Kit comes to terms with the fact that she doesn't like men as she makes out with a dude, and I feel like that was just kind of like a weird thing to put in the storyline, to have her. She just didn't get a lot of attention in the story, and then you just have this very minor plot line of Kit barely being a part of the story, not knowing what to wear, not knowing how to feel comfortable in her own skin, trying to make out with a boy, and then realizing she doesn't like guys and that she likes women instead. And so I'm like, I don't know, that felt like it did not get enough attention. If that's gonna be in there, I'm like, why didn't we spend any time with Kit? Kit just got the least amount of time. So I wish she would have gotten more time to like explore that, if that's going to be a significant part of the story. I think that was just a big thing with it, is there's just so many characters, you didn't get enough time with everyone that you wanted to, and just the way the story's set up as well, you didn't get enough time. So yeah, that's Malibu Rising. I would probably give it like a 2-star. There were just so many things that did nothing for me. It's very neutral, but now I know. I can confirm that I know my reading taste well, and I knew I wasn't gonna like this, and I didn't. So I guess I'm gonna see if this book club is going on today or not. I should have found out in the next like hour and a half or so for making a call by noon. It's like 10:30 now, so we'll see. I hope it is, because I was planning on posting this video this week, and if it's not, then I'm gonna have to postpone the whole video too, which kind of sucks. But yeah, I don't know. Next time I talk to you, I will either be back from book club or be telling you that it's canceled and we are postponing to a later time. Hello, I just got back from book club and it went really well. So I didn't record anything while I was there because I wasn't trying to be like a weirdo recording people. I was just meeting for the first time. So I didn't get a lot of footage of like actual book club things, but it did last about 2 hours, which it was marked for 2 hours, but I just didn't know if it was actually gonna last that long. And like 40 people signed up, but only like 15 to 20 showed up. So it was a really good sized group, enough to have like group conversations, but also like break off conversations. And honestly, it went really well. And the next month's book pick is Razorblade Tears, which is a book that I'm like not super interested in either, but I'm like, I had a good enough time that I'm gonna read that book and participate again with this book club. So overall, it was definitely a successful experience. I did not know what to expect or what it was gonna be like, and the girls who put it together also said like this was their first book club, and a lot of the people who showed up also said this was their first book club, so nobody there was like a pro at in-person book clubs, which was nice. So we just had like really casual conversations about if we liked the book or not, things we liked, things that characters did that annoyed us or didn't make sense. So it was nice that it didn't have any structure, but still we were all able to come together. Nobody, like 2 people knew each other before, like the 2 hosts, but everyone else, like no one knew each other, and we were able to keep conversation going for 2 hours just because of a book. So I thought that was pretty cool. It just reinforces why I love books and how they bring people together. So it was a fun experience. But overall, would highly recommend it. Like I said, I used the app Meetup to find this group, not sponsored, just what I used, and so would recommend it because my experience went well. A couple of the other people there were talking about how they've used meetup groups before that have not gone super great, and everyone was like, no, this one's so great, like everyone's so normal, this is such a good group of people. So definitely like check out the invitee list, I guess, and pick something that seems like it's gonna be right for you. But overall, had a good time, went super well. And it worked out really nicely that it was everyone's kind of like first time. We were all kind of uncomfortable and like trying to figure it out together. So yeah, even though I didn't like Malibu Rising, I still didn't have like an unenjoyable time reading it. I felt pretty neutral about it. Like the book didn't make me mad, or I wasn't like upset that I had to read the book or really wanting to DNF it. It was an okay book. Like the writing was okay enough to keep me going through it. It just wasn't my style of book. But I think next month's pick of Razorblade Tears is going to be a lot more at my alley because that is a thriller. So looking forward to that one and doing this all over again. So yeah, that is a wrap for this video. Definitely comment and let me know if you have joined in-person book clubs before and how you've gone about it, and if it's gone well for you or not well for you. And I guess if you have any questions about my experience, let me know. You can drop those down below and I'll be happy to answer them. Not really sure what else to expand upon with my experience. So if there's any questions that you had, drop them down below and I'll chat with you there. But that is it for me. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye!